Hello students, I'm Gauri, Department of Economics from Vilamari Junior College for Girls, an institution which stands for Quality Education for Girl Child. Today I'm here to explain the third chapter, that is the national income, poverty and unemployment. This chapter is very, very important from the examination point of view. There are almost 10 marks questions from this chapter. The first topic, let us talk about the trends in national income and per capita income. But before that, we need to understand what exactly is the national income. We say it measures the volume of goods and services produced within a country in a particular year. So when we are calculating the national income, we always consider the final volume of goods and services that are produced in that particular year in a country. The financial year always is considered as 1st of April and ends on 31st of March. But before we get more into this, let us see who are the notable estimators to calculate the national income. Now this Dadabhai Naroji, the first person to estimate the national income before the National Income Committee was established in our country. So the first person to estimate national income, we have Dadabhai Naroji, and along with him we have Finlay Shiras, V.K. R.V. Rao, R.C. Desai were the members who were helping in estimating the national income. Later, after independence, we have constituted, we have National Income Committee in the year 1949, August 1949. And the chairperson of this committee was Professor P.C. Mahanullabi, Professor D.R. Gadgil, Professor V.K. R.V. Rao were the members of this particular committee. Committee was started in the year 1949. They submitted their first report in the year 1954. Now, to provide the information, they need an organization which gives the data to them. And to provide the data, statistical information, the government has established CSO, what we call as Central Statistical Organization. This organization provides all the data that is required to calculate the national income. The Central Statistical Organization selects one of the year as the base year. Now this year, while selecting the base year, they consider a year which has without much economic fluctuations, without any natural calamities. So recent CSO has taken 2011-12 as the base year. So here, national income is calculated by taking a base year, a year without any natural calamities or economic fluctuations. The next one is trends in national income and per capita income, which is a 2-mark question for you. What exactly, how do we consider, how do we calculate, and what is the importance of this particular estimates? We consider the national income at constant prices. This is an index for what? For productive efforts and indicates the rate of growth of goods and services in the economy. With the help of the national income, we can very clearly say what exactly is the growth that this country has witnessed. What is the growth? Whether the economy is growing or whether the economy has remained stagnant. So the national income at constant prices always gives a picture, indicates or gives a picture how the economy is growing it. Whereas the growth of per capita income at constant prices always indicates the standard of living of the people. Definitely, the standard of living of us always depends upon the per capita income. Higher the per capita income, high is the standards of living, what we have already learned in our first year. When incomes are increasing, there is more demand for superior goods. Our living standards improve. So the per capita income is high, the standard of living is also high. There are two ways to calculate the national income. The national income is calculated at current prices and it is also calculated at the constant prices. Let us see what exactly is this. When we are calculating the national income at current prices, we say, how do we measure this? How do we get that? National income at current prices is always calculated output of the current year multiplied with the prices of the current year. That means that whatever output, if I consider 2021 or if I consider 2020 as the year, output produced in that particular year will multiplied with the prices of that particular year. But if I have to calculate the national income at constant prices, output of the current year multiplied with the base year prices. But why do we require, as I told in the beginning itself, that talks about the productive effort, productive capacity, that talks about the growth. So thereby, output of the current year multiplied with the base year prices. Let me talk about this example. If I consider 2021, constant prices output of 2021 multiplied with the 2011-12 prices, that is the base year what CSO has taken recently. When do we consider the national income, the real growth in national income? Real increase in national income always considers with increase in output but not with increase in prices. If the national income is increasing because of increase in prices, that is not the real growth, because national income is always considered with increase in the output. That is, production of goods and services should increase if you have to see a real increase in the national income. The next one is, this is a 2-mark question, that is, what is the annual growth rate of national income and per capita income during the various 5-year plans? 1951, we started the first 5-year plan. 12th plan was halfway. We have the planning commission was dissolved and it has been replaced by Niti Aayog. Let us see during this 11 5-year plans, what is the growth rate of national income and per capita income. Over the years, we find there is increase in the national income and per capita income. The annual growth rate of national income in the first 5-year plan was 4.4%, and in between in 6th 5-year plan 5.4%, and towards end 12th 5-year plan, as I said, which is up the way it has been replaced with Niti Aayog, it was 8. It has not reached till the targeted level. The per capita income in the first 5-year plan, which was started in the year 1951, was 2.6, which has increased to 6.2%. So during the last 22 years, that is from 1991 to 2013, we see that there is increase in the per capita national income, which is significantly higher, but it could not increase till the targeted level. So this is a 2-mark question, which is asked as annual growth rate of national income and per capita income. This statistical table is must for you to show how the national and per capita income over the years has been changed. The next one we have is again a 2-mark question, that is sectoral contribution to national income. What is this? Sectoral. How much each sector contributes to the national income. But why do we have to read this? The study of this is very, very important because we need to see how much each sector is growing over the years. And any time when the government is spending money, allocating the outlays, they have to see what is the contribution that this particular sector is contributing it. So the study of sectoral contribution to national income is very, very important. What does it explain? It explains the economic structure and the contribution made by each sector. So in our economy, we have 3 major sectors, that is primary. When I use the word primary, we mean by agriculture, forestry, fishing, poultry farming, dairy farming, all this comes under the primary sector. When I talk about the industrial sector, the secondary sector, which is manufacturing, mining, quarrying, construction, all this comes under the secondary or the industrial sector. When I talk about the service sector or we say tertiary sector, IT, which is playing very important role, and this sector is supposed to be the fastest growing sector, which is showing a great development in the economy. The trade, transport, communications, banking, irrigation, insurance, all this comes under the service sector. And as with every changes in NSSO, there are many components that are included in this particular sector. Let us see each sector, how much it used to contribute earlier and how much it is contributing. So this statistical information that I'm providing, this is compared between 1950 to 2019. So the primary sector, which is agriculture, forestry, fishing, was contributing 57.2% to the national income and at present 16.1. That is 2019 statistical data. If I see, it is 16.1. So that means that, yes, the economy has improved, economy is growing because the contribution from unorganized sector to the national income is reducing it. And the contribution from industrial is increased from 14.8%, which was in 1950s, to 29.6% in 2019. The tertiary sector, as I said, that the fastest growing sector, and we could witness the growth of this sector with the contribution made from 25% in 1950 to 54.3%. So today, the service sector is playing a very important role, and today with the statistical information, you can see very clearly that it more than 50% of our national income is contributing from the service sector. So this is a 2 marks question which you have to just write what exactly, why do we have to study this? Because this shows the contribution and the development of that particular sector. In detail, write primary, what comes under that, write industries, what comes under that, write tertiary, what comes under that, and just compare from the 50s to 2019. So this is a 2 marks question. The next one we have is, can you identify what does these pictures indicate? What does the slides indicate? This slide indicates inequalities. You are seeing in terms of sectors, you are seeing in terms of assets, you are seeing in terms of property. There is so much of inequalities in our country. So we have a collage of pictures which explains infographic which explains how inequalities of income, in terms of education, in terms of wealth, in terms of household, in terms of land, there is so much of inequalities of income and wealth. Now, how are we getting to know this inequality? And for this, we have different committees and different organizations who analyzes the inequalities of income and wealth. The committees are Committee on Distribution of Income and Levels of Living, which is headed by P.C. Mahanolobis. We have NCAER, that is National Council for Applied Economic Research. We have Gini Index, and we have NSSO, National Sample Survey Office. They are helping us to know, understand, or they are studying about the extent of inequalities of income and wealth in our country. These are certain reasons which are contributing to the inequalities of income and wealth in India. And the causes of inequalities are inequalities in the land ownership, concentration of assets in the private corporate sector, inequalities in professional training, inflation is again creating inequalities, inequalities in credit facilities, urban bias in private investment, the role of government, and gender inequalities. Let us go with each and every point in detail. The first one is inequalities in the land ownership. The picture talks a lot. There is no equal distribution of the land holdings in our country. According to the surveys that I've made, it is observed that maximum of the land is held in the hands of the rich landlords, moneylenders. They grab the maximum land holdings and poor are left with nothing. If I have to put in statistical data, I say that 80% of the land holdings are there with 10 to 15% of the landowners, and 80% of the people have 20% of the land holding. So there is high inequalities in the land distribution or ownership. The next one we have is concentration of assets in the private corporate sector. Most of the assets, the picture talks about Reliance, Tata, most of the assets or maximum of our assets are held in these particular hands. So the wealth is concentrated in few hands. It is not equally distributed. The next one we have is inequalities in professional training. Why? Why are we finding this kind of inequalities? It is coming with ages and ages. The rich are able to provide the best education to their children, and the poor are not able to provide the quality education to their children. So these kind of inequalities, the people who are getting, the children who are getting the best education are earning good incomes. The standard of living is very high, whereas the poor who is not able to get their education, best education, quality education, the standard of living is coming down. The inequalities in the professional training, and the picture talks in volumes to what extent the inequalities in professional training we have it. The next one we have is inflationary tendencies. As I said that whenever the prices increases, it is only one segment of the people do enjoy. The other category of the people suffer. The middle class and the poor class society suffers a lot whenever the prices increase in our economy. And inflationary tendencies is always better for few category, that is the entrepreneurs and the producers. They enjoy the best, and the poor have to shut down more amount. So this is again creating the inflation tendencies, is enlarging, widening the gap between the rich and the poor. And inflation tendencies is again not a positive sign even for the development of an economy, which is very shown in this particular picture towards our left. That is, whenever the prices are increasing, it is not showing a good sign for the development of an economy. The next one is inequalities in the credit facilities. We talk so much about financial institutions. But if they are not able to take care of the financial requirements of entrepreneurs, then these people are depending on the money lenders, and they charge high rate of interest. So inequalities in the credit facilities, most of them are not able to avail the best loans at low rate of interest. So the banks and the financial institutions, to certain extent, should provide the equal credit facilities. The rich are getting richer and the poor are becoming poorer because the credit facilities at low rate of interest is not being provided. The next one is urban bias in private investment. Most of the industries in our country are established in an area where there is infrastructural development, and such facilities are dividing the economy into rural areas and urban areas. So definitely, if you have to invest, definitely you will look for an area where there are infrastructural development, minimum roads, current, electricity, the communication facilities, and most of the skilled labor should be there. So urban bias in private investment is again creating inequalities. How it is creating? This is if most of the industries are established in the urban areas, there is no alternative employment opportunities in the rural areas. And in case if there is if you want a country to develop, there should be equal development of industries in urban areas as well as rural areas, which is not happening because everywhere there is no equal development of infrastructural facilities. The role of the government. To a certain extent, the government policies are creating the inequalities of income and wealth. But how do we reduce them? How do we solve them? If we have, the government has also suggested certain measures to reduce inequalities of income and wealth. These are the list of measures what the government has suggested to reduce inequalities because this is standing as an obstacle for the development of an economy. So the government has designed some measures which will reduce inequalities of income and wealth. And these measures are land reforms, any reform any reform suggested by the government, taken by the government for the development of agriculture, we consider to be land reform. We have minimum needs program for the uplift of the rural poor, employment and wage policies, social security measures, control over MRTP Act, and taxation. Let us see each one of them in detail. When I talk about land reforms and redistribution of agricultural land, the picture towards the which shows that we have to redistribute the agricultural land so that equal distribution of land holdings to all the farmers. That is the most important thing so that we can reduce inequalities of land holdings in the rural areas. So redistribution of agricultural land will facilitate equal distribution of land holdings. And any reform taken for the development of agriculture by the government is called as land reform. So land reform, if it is implemented effectively in the rural areas, the agriculture production will increase. We will not have poverty in the rural areas. So to reduce inequalities, we need to develop the rural areas, and the best solution is land reforms and redistribution of agriculture land. The next one we have is MRTP Act, the control over MRTP Act. Many amendments have been made so that they reduce their power on the decisions of the private sector, on the ownership rights. So the control over MRTP, to a certain extent, this has created inequalities. So with the changes, with the amendments, they are trying to reduce their power on the private sector. The next one is employment and wage policy. Many programs the government has suggested to reduce inequalities of income and wealth. To name them, we have crash scheme for rural employment, drought-prone area program, that is an area which is affected by any natural calamity. The government spends money on developing such area. Crash scheme for rural employment, the government is providing some employment opportunities or trying to provide some training facilities so that they create their own employment opportunities. Self-employment schemes for engineers, employment schemes for educated unemployed, food for work program, IRDP. It's a beautiful program which tries to reduce the inequalities. It is Integrated Rural Development Program. We have NRP, that is National Rural Employment Program. We have a program for the landless farmers, that is Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program. We have Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar, that is Swarna Jayanti Gram. The policy itself says that upliftment of grams, self-upliftment of an area, Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana, creating employment opportunities, developing the particular area. We have Jawahar Gram Samriddhi Yojana, which is known as JGSY. We have Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. And we have the other programs like TRISEM and DWACRA, training the rural youth for self-employment and development of women and children of rural areas. So these are some of the programs the government has taken up initiative so that they create employment, they create some support They provide some training facilities so that we create employment among these people. We generate income levels so that the gap between the rich and the poor can be reduced. Let us see the next program, that is social security measures. What comes under this? We have employees who are working. There are certain programs for their security. For to name few of them, Employees Provident Fund. This is provided in every organization. Some part of the money is from the employees and some part share is from the employer. And towards the end of the services, they provide this kind of fund. Workmen's Compensation Act. This entitles industrial workers to compensate in case of any health or any death or any disability. The company takes care of their compensation. Maternity Benefit Act. Under this particular act, the women, especially during the delivery, they are getting paid leave for 2 or 3 months. Now it has extended to 6 months. Maternity Benefit Act. Employees State Insurance Act. Under this, what is the advantage of that? It entitles the insured workers for medical facilities, disability benefit, or any maternity benefit. Employment of women workers before and after the childbirth. This comes under the social security measures. The next one is minimum needs program. What exactly under this particular program initiated by the government? Taking care of the basic facilities to the people. That is taking care of the health, which is very, very important. That is a need of the hour at present day. Providing the safe drinking water, rural electrification, without which the industries, cottage, small scale and agriculture cannot be progressing. Nutrition, which is very, very important. The basic education, adult education. When I talk about adult education, it is with regard to the adult education with regard to farming, with regard to any industries or any education which is talking about empowering the skills and efficiency of the farmers if it is a rural area, and also the family planning education, improving the status of urban slums and houses for the landless workers. The next one we have is programs for the uplift of the rural poor. Government has specially designed some programs which are uplifting the rural poor. And these are Special Area Development Program, SADP. Areas which need some special attention, some special investment. Under this program, they are trying to uplift the poor rural areas. The next one is Resource and Income Development Programs for the rural poor. Try to provide the income generation opportunities so that the poverty levels reduces. Works program for the creation of supplementary employment opportunities, basically suitable for the people in the rural areas where agriculture is only occupation, which is again supposed to be seasonal, and this program always takes care of additional or supplementary employment opportunities and incomes so that they support themselves during the off-season time. The next one we have is taxation. Taxation, this is again one most important is government should come out with a taxation which is impose more taxes on the rich incomes and less taxes on the poor incomes. If the government is coming with such taxation, we can reduce inequalities of income and wealth. So with this, we have completed what exactly is the causes of inequalities of income and wealth and the measures suggested by the government. So today in this particular class, we have done trends in the national income and per capita income, which is a 2 marks question. We have seen annual growth rate of national income and per capita income, which is again a 2 marks question. Sectoral contribution to national income, it can come for 2 marks and 5 marks, which is very, very important. And causes of inequalities and measures suggested by the government, which is again very, very important for 10 marks. Thank you so much.